Welcome to the Immigrants Magazine's program, episode 225. Tetyana Golota's life hasn't been easy as an immigrant. Let's remember some parts on her previous interview.
You can be miserable. That makes miserable everybody around you. So the happiness actually creates happiness. I have noticed as the days came to me in a very shocking, kind of unprecedented way. From nothing, I had no symptoms. Basically, I went to the basics of my life because nothing else was more important than actual life for me, right? Because if I would be gone, if it would have been cancer or something like that, my husband, my family, my son, all of my relatives, they will be devastated. But when I grew up with grandma, you learn the basics. You live the basic life of village people, which gives you like simplicity of life. Simple things are more appreciated. The simple basics of life, that's your foundation, and you always build from it, right? If you have that rock and you know you could survive with those minimum things, or you can build anything you want, right?
Tetyana Golota's interview, second part. Welcome to our The Immigrants Journey segment.
Not really breaking the standards, but I think the whole, if you're talking about fashion industry, we always see skinny, and those skinny went to almost in borderline of anorexic. The normality of life is not like that. The normal women are curvy, and they're beautiful in their curves. So, and for me, it's not really breaking the standards. It's maybe setting up new standards, right? I received award in 2015, the Heart and Soul Award. That award was pretty much, I can't even explain that, because I think from that moment that I wake up again back from the surgery, I chose to be happy, and that happiness was radiating from me. I don't know, in some way people were seeing things and I inspire somebody here and there, and I thought, okay, if what I went through can inspire somebody, I should talk about it. And I talk about it more, and I share that story, and people think, oh my God, if she survived all of this and she's like that, oh, I can do anything. So for me, that was probably the most flattering and like most exciting award, because if I can inspire one person per day, it makes my day. Like, why not, right? We're all here to live the best we can, and the stories that, like, I'm on the board of advisors for She Talks Global, right? The core committee, and the stories that we hear from women just moves the other women in the way that they did not expect it, because they think they're not alone. Nobody wants to be alone. They feel they're not isolated from the whole world with their own stories. So when they hear somebody on the stage speaking and sharing what went through, they know that oh my goodness, this happened to her, something similar happened to me. Oh my goodness, I can probably survive too, right? Fear? My hugest fear is over now. It's the fear of dying, pretty much. That's the fear, the biggest one probably. But the rest is, I don't know. The fear of being depressed, because I don't want to be depressed. I was there once, and that hole is super dark and I don't want it. So that's the fears I have. Well, creativity for me is pretty much every day. Whatever I see, I like, or got inspired by. I was telling this to my friends, I saying, am I crazy, or I'm the only one person in the world who watches couture, how it's made? I'm crying because of the craftsmanship and how much work is done to it and the beauty that creates. So for me, that's super inspirational. I like to create myself a lot of things again. Back, I learned from grandma a lot of things that you can do from almost nothing. Cross-stitching, sewing, creating just beautiful things. I did lots of fascinators and hats for my friends, and they were wearing them to Dayton Cup or like Vancouver Fashion Week. things like that, and people love them, and seeing their faces light up when they look at themselves wearing beautiful things, what amazing, amazing thing to do. It gives you even more energy to make it. I miss people in my country. I miss my relatives, my cousins that I grew up with. I miss my childhood friends. They're amazing people. And I hope the country itself will rebuild itself and be better for the future generation. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's not. And you know what happened with you? You cry, smiling. So even you are crying. You
I'm smiling,
you
yeah.
are smiling.
Because I see that with the struggle in the country back in the historical portion of Ukraine, they're always surviving. They always build better. They always grow. They always learn, and they always, like Ukrainians as a nation is amazing. How strong they are, how positive they are, how resourceful, how beautiful people are. It's just I absolutely love my country, right? I love Canada even better now, right? Because I have opportunity to talk about my country in here. For the for the for people who are more reserved, you know what I do? I hug them. Just to change one person in the day, and they feel it, and then they smile, and that makes me happy. Like, come on, hugs are free. Humans are built in the way of we need a human touch, right? We cannot be alone, and I posted even on my website saying like happiness is not singular, it's plural. So when we all together and collaborate and create something, that creates happiness, you know, like kind of in the way of when you will be by yourself, you maybe will be happy for a day, but then you will miss humans and the human touch. So I think hugs are free and they should be given away every day, and smiles too. On my journey as an immigrant, I've seen the possibilities, opportunities. I build my life like on the base of freedom and choices. And again, possibilities and opportunities are, if you want something out of your life, this country will probably, it's hard to get it, but you can. You can do anything you want. The education, the jobs, I can't even wrap my head around all of this. The possibility of this country is enormous. Just change and missing family back home, missing my relatives, and missing the things that you grow up with. But over the time, I still miss them. But over the time, you build your own history and story in this country. So you build your own homes, you build your own friendships and relatives. My parents live here too. My sister lives here too. My mother-in-law, my brother-in-law, everybody kind of, we are in this country now together, so it's kind of, it's better for all of us, I think. But the roots are still there, kind of, in a way, and we still love our country.
We as immigrants should know our rights and also understand how our government is structured and how is the voting system. Welcome to our new segment, Let's Talk Politics with James Filippelli, who is a founding member and a leader of your political party.
Hi, my name's James Filippelli, and this is Let's Talk Politics. Today we're going to talk about how our government in Canada is structured. Most people in Canada are aware that we have three main levels of government. There's the federal, provincial, and municipal governments. But a lot of Canadians don't know what each level of government is responsible for. We have the federal government, and they're responsible for things that affect all of Canada as a whole. Things like national defense, immigration, international relations and foreign aid. They're also responsible for things like EI across the country, employment insurance. They also collect the largest chunk of your tax bill in your provincial or your federal income tax. This money that they use and collect, they dole out a chunk to each of the provinces to provide funding for things like healthcare in order for the provinces to maintain a comparable level of service all across the country. These are some of the things that the federal government is responsible for. What is the provincial government responsible for, you might ask? Well, the provincial government is in charge of all the land and resources that lie within the province that it is. So in BC, 94% of the land is considered Crown land. This is land that the provincial government holds in trust for all British Columbians. Some of this land is maintained directly by the province, and other chunks of this land might be leased out to companies in the resource extraction business. So forestry companies or mining companies who might want to use some of this land to extract resources and pay royalties to the provincial government. The provincial government also provides services to the people of the province. They provide things like healthcare, education, social security, and welfare. As well, we pay a provincial income tax and we pay PST to the provincial government here in BC. The provincial government also oversees Crown corporations. Crown corporations are entities that are at an arm's length from the provincial government and kind of operate within the regulations set forward by the provincial government. In BC, we have TransLink, which provides transportation for the Lower Mainland. We have BC Ferries, which provides ferries across the province and on the coast. And we have ICBC, which provides insurance. These are some of the Crown corporations which exist here in BC. The provincial government also oversees municipal governments. So in BC, there are a number of municipalities which have their own government. Municipal governments are the level of government that is mainly responsible for providing the day-to-day services that you use. Things like garbage pickup, sewage. They maintain the local streets, sidewalks in your communities, and they usually are responsible for policing and fire in the areas where you live. They control things like regulations and business licensing. So they determine whether your neighbor can set up a business in their house, whether they can tear down their house and build a huge condo tower, or whether these things are against the regulations and zoning provided by the city. These are some of the different levels of government within BC. There are also a couple more, which are maybe a little less common. In BC, we have regional school boards. These are made up of elected members who are responsible for spending the money which is given to the school boards by the province to provide education to British Columbians. And there are also regional governments. Metro Vancouver would be one example. It's made up of mayors from around the municipalities in the Lower Mainland, which work together to provide shared services to the people in the Lower Mainland area. I hope this has given you a bit of an indication of some of the different levels of government within our province, what services they provide. I'm James Filippelli, and this was Let's Talk Politics. Please tune in next time. I'm sure most of you have heard before that you need to vote because it is your right here in Canada. And a lot of people come from places where they don't have that right. Canada is a country that was founded on immigration, and there's a lot of people who've come to Canada who grew up in places where they weren't allowed to participate in democracy and have a say in their government. Yes, it is important to vote because we have that right to vote. But in Canada, we're not really worried about being overtaken by some tyrannical dictatorship that might end up suppressing a large segment of the population. Yet, it is still important that you get out and vote. In one of our previous segments, we talked about the different levels of government that exist here in Canada and BC, and those segments have elections in order to elect the representatives that will enact the things that they're responsible for. And it's important for you to get out there and vote so that you have a say in how they enact those things that they're responsible for. For example, municipal governments. We talked about how municipal governments have the biggest impact on your day-to-day life. Yet, municipal voter turnout hovers around 20%. The municipal governments are responsible for things like the police and fire department in your community, as well as the maintenance of the roads and sidewalks, and things like business licensing and zoning of developments. So if you don't go and vote in your municipal elections, you have no real say in how the government takes care of these things. Provincially, voter turnout is around 50 to 60%. The provincial government is responsible for the overall control of Crown land, which we learnt before was approximately 94% of all land here in British Columbia. They're responsible for things like the resource extraction industry, and therefore are in charge of environmental controls on a lot of BC. They're also responsible for things like education, healthcare, and social services like welfare and old age security. If you care about these things, it's important that you get out and vote so that the government that's elected represents the issues that you care about. Federally, we talked about how the government is responsible for things that affect Canada as a whole. They're responsible for things like foreign relations with other countries, international aid, national defense, and immigration. If these issues are important to you, it's important that you get out and vote federally. And as we heard before, as in provincial elections, voter turnout federally is only around 50 to 60%. So it's important that you get out and vote and have your say. We also talked about some other levels of government, like the school board. The school board is elected, and they're responsible for spending the money that the provincial government gives them. You might say, I don't have a child in the education system, so I don't need to vote in school board elections. Well, you have a vested interest in ensuring that we have a well-educated population here in BC, so you want to have your say in how they're spending that money. The better educated the people of BC are, the less that we need to spend on things like crime and healthcare and other things like that that affect the community that you live in. So it's important for you to get out and vote and have your say in how your government is run. I'm James Filippelli, and this was Let's Talk Politics. Please tune in next time.
Have you seen a sea with different colors and 7 islands around? This place is a paradise in the world. Sardinia, a region of Italy in our Your Country, My Country segment.
Sardegna is the second largest Italian island, located 12 kilometers away from Corsica and 120 kilometers away from the Tuscan coast. It is situated at the center of the Mediterranean Sea. The island is justly famous for the extreme beauty of the crystal clear sea which encircles it, where the deep aquamarine blue merges with emerald green and the sand's pearl white candor. However, Sardinia does not only have a breathtaking coast, the region's evocative charm is heightened by the varied scenery in the island, from rocky mountains to stone-floored plateaus. Sardinia is an ancient region whose past can be traced thanks to the mementos left by conquerors of different origins who dominated the island over the centuries. One of Sardinia's attractions is the Maddalena archipelago. It's constituted by 7 islands, the largest of which are Maddalena and Caprera. The latter is famous for being the place where Giuseppe Garibaldi lived and was buried. There are also many uninhabited, uncontaminated islands, among which the extraordinary beauty of Budelli is celebrated for its pink sandy beach. Facing the archipelago is the rocky Gallura, where the wind-beaten rocks have been forged into striking animal shapes. On the Emerald Coast, considered to be one of the most glamorous sites in the Mediterranean, harbours are at the centre of all activity. Portocervo, the international jet-set paradise, is a hotspot around the clock. Porto Rotondo, another pearl on the coast, has been famous since the 60s. Its piazzetta is the habitués' meeting point. However, the Emerald Coast does not only offer worldly pleasures, it is also full of small beaches, solitary inlets set amidst jutting promontories, wind-forged rocks of all shapes, used as living quarters since the 18th century, which go by the name of tafoni. Cagliari, on the southern coast of the island, is the foremost city. The seafront overlooks the ever-expanding harbour, which plays a very important economic role. Among the Roman remains is the amphitheatre, which was excavated in the rocks. While the remarkable Pisani Towers are an example of medieval architecture. And the cathedral, dedicated to St. Mary, Queen of the Sardinians, in the Castello district, betrays Spanish origins. Sassari, set in the calcareous plain which dips down to the Asinara Gulf, began as a small town in the past, but it soon developed into an active centre for commercial activities. The city is the seat of the oldest university in Sardinia. It has a striking Duomo at the heart of the historical centre of the city, which was built over a 12th century Romanic parish church and is a proper mosaic of antiquities. Sardinia is both tradition and folklore. Customs, dances, music and songs express an orally transmitted culture, which makes Sardinians particularly proud of their heritage and their origins. Like the spectacular Sartilia, an equestrian carousel which marks the yearly carnival celebrations in Oristano. Sardinian cuisine is characterized by its agricultural pastoral origins, which thrive on genuine flavors, such as the richly original cheeses, the sedas, as well as other sweets made with almonds and honey. A central role in the local cuisine is held by roasted, spicy meat. Regional products such as botarga and lobsters. In Sardinia, nature added an extra bonus by giving it a uniquely colored sea, as if to demonstrate its creative power. Spellbinding inlets, unusually shaped cliffs, an inviolate sea floor, all of which surprise visitors with a kaleidoscope of unforgettable experiences.
Just a few things before closing this episode. If you are a pessimist person, all around you is gonna be negative. If you are a positive and enthusiastic person, all good things come to you. Remember, our mind is powerful. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you missed any episodes, go to our website and click on episodes. I am Fabiola Palomino, your host.
Problemas de relaciones interpersonales, separación, divorcio, problemas con niños, adolescentes y adultos.
Soy la doctora Yolanda Montoya, soy Clinical Counselor y mi teléfono es el 604-861-1071.